Now I have the pleasure to introduce Julia. Julia is a MAC 2005 graduate and the U.S. corporate tax leader for Eastern Canada at Grant Thornton. She has over 16 years of experience assisting clients with U.S. and cross-border tax issues. Julia has designed and taught an introductory U.S. tax course for the University of Waterloo and has been named in best-selling book Total Rethink as the best tax mind in U.S. deal planning. Outside of the workplace, Julia is passionate about child welfare, education, and development, sitting on the board of directors for both Nutrition for Learning as well as Rising Oaks Early Learning of Ontario. Please help me welcome Julia. And again, if you have any questions, feel free to add it to the Q&A section.
All right, thank you very much. So I'm here today, I guess, to talk about the less popular road or the road less traveled, life in public accounting and what that entails. So I'm a U.S. tax partner, and I do primarily structuring from a cross-border perspective, as well as a lot of transaction work and M&A. So when I was a little girl, my mom used to say that I liked to argue with people, so I would make a great lawyer. So I didn't follow her advice and ended up an accountant and a tax accountant in that, but I do spend a lot of my time arguing with lawyers on a day-to-day basis, and I do enjoy it. So I guess my mom's prediction was right. So I'm here to talk about public accounting and what a career in public accounting has meant for me. And I know Carmen has mentioned, she was kind of the last man standing. So I don't know what that makes me because I'm definitely still here and have no plans to go anywhere else. But I will say when I started out my career, either as an accounting student or later in public accounting, I never thought that I'd still be here 16 years later. But I learned very early on that when you say never, you typically jinx yourself. I remember in second year university at Waterloo, I said I would never date another accountant. And here I am, happily married to Patrick, my husband, who I met in the accounting program, and we've been married for 15 years. So then I said I'd never be in public accounting, and well, here I am. So I want to talk a little bit about public accounting and what about public accounting has kept me engaged and kept me interested, and why I feel I've had a very fulfilling career, a challenging career, and a career I'm very proud of. And it's four things. First is challenge. The second is variety. Third is teaching. And fourth is flexibility. So I talk about challenge. I'm someone who gets bored very, very easily. And I kind of stumbled into the world of US tax. I was doing my co-op terms at my predecessor firm, which was one of the big four. And I wanted to try tax. And I said, can I try Canadian tax? And I was told that Canadian tax won't take you until you've written your accounting exams. But basically, US tax will take anybody. They need people. Why don't you give it a try? So I said, sure, I'll give it a try. And I fell in love with it. And it was, to me, this puzzle, like trying to figure out, and I started with US personal tax, which I don't do anymore, but that's what I fell in love with. So I'm going to share my story from that perspective. It was like a puzzle to me, trying to figure out what tax you're paying on both sides of the border, how you get that foreign tax credit to make sure a taxpayer is not double taxed. And I just found it so complicated, so interesting that I wanted to learn more. And that's something that's really inspired me in my career today is the fact that no matter how much you learn about US tax, you never know everything. And I think Carol mentioned something earlier too about not knowing all the answers and you actually don't know a lot. I feel that way almost every single day when you're interacting with a client and they throw an obscure question at you and you're like, oh, I've never really thought about that before. So the world of US tax has always been challenging. And then 4 years ago, we had major overhaul of the US tax system where all of the rules were thrown out the window and new rules were replaced instead. And to me, I found that exciting. It was a chance to dive in, learn something new, think about clients I've worked on for years from a different perspective and how these new rules will impact them or what type of restructuring we can do from a new rule perspective. And I used to tell my team that it was such an exciting time to be alive. And I think they used to roll their eyes and laugh at me, but I genuinely meant it. It was so exciting to have new law, new legislation, to be able to take that and see how you're actually helping a client. And an example too would be a couple of years ago, I ended up working on a lot of different projects with my Irish colleagues from my predecessor firm. And I remember one of the partners called me saying, listen, we have this transaction. It's primarily Irish, and we have a whole bunch of players, and we're looking at it, but there's some US owners, and it looks like it's US controlled. And the accountant for the US taxpayer is saying that there's going to be some significant tax on deemed or phantom income. Can you take a look? We'll pay you for a couple of hours just to say yay or nay. So I took a look at the transaction and I said, if we do A, B, and C first, we'll actually get rid of that deemed income. So I went back and said, I think we can do this instead. Got on a call with various lawyers in Ireland and in the US, various private equity investors, because there's a whole bunch of investors in this project. And lo and behold, my plan is going to work. And now it's my plan, and I'm leading this transaction. So we ended up having a bunch of different LTIP plans and bonuses, and we needed to figure out how we're moving around boxes on this org chart to make sure everybody gets paid. We're not creating any fake income or tax on fake income. And I just found it thrilling. And it was like this puzzle to figure out again. And it was just a really exciting project. And at the end, I went to Ireland for the closing, and everyone was so excited to meet the Canadian who was leading this project. And it just showed me how big the world is, and yet how small the world is too, that this Canadian leading this project can end up, you know, advising all these huge funds from around the world with respect to this Irish transaction. So that particular client ended up writing a business book and called me and told me that he was referencing me in the book as the best tax-minded deal planning. And I've never considered myself the best tax mind in anything. So it was very flattering. To me, it was just figuring out, hey, there's a puzzle. How can I solve it? And I think that was something that really engaged me to do more and continue to, advance down my path. So it wasn't the same old day in, day out. I was working on these big global projects. I was seeing what taxpayers are doing worldwide, and it just gave me so much more exposure and so much more of that challenge because it wasn't the same thing day in and day out, which kind of leads me to variety. And I think I mentioned I get bored very easily. So I need constant variety, and I want each day to be different. And for me, public accounting has given me that because tax is tax and I still don't know everything. And you may apply the same tax rules to a multitude of client situations, but each client is different. I've had the opportunity to work on big clients, small clients, public clients, private equity clients, all kinds of different clients. And it's getting to know, sitting down with the business owner and understanding their business. So after that transaction, I did have the ability to continue to travel to Dublin on a regular basis and develop a little bit of a reputation as the Canadian who does US taxes, as if there's only one of me, but that's the way I'm known over there. So a bunch of different transactions. Then I got to work on some German projects, Luxembourg projects. I've helped a Taiwanese company expand into the US. I've got to attend meetings in Indiana and Mississippi. It's interesting to go to Jackson, Mississippi in February, where they had a tiny bit of snow and the whole city shut down and there's salt everywhere because they don't have snow tires. Just seeing different things. Going to the furniture market in North Carolina, which I guess is the furniture industry's equivalent of New York Fashion Week, and seeing all the designers laying out their new furniture. So it's just been so rewarding and such, I'll say, different pace that each day is so different than the last that it's kept me challenged and interested and wanting to come back for more because I've never had a day where I get bored or I feel I'm doing the same thing day in and day out. And, don't get me wrong, we have busy season, we have tax returns, and you still need to churn through all of those at the specific deadlines. But it's all of the extra stuff that I think adds so much variety and so much excitement to my career and has been really fulfilling. So the third thing that I mentioned was teaching. And although my mom said I should be a lawyer, I've always wanted to be a teacher. And that was sort of my dream career. And I wanted to be a teacher from day one. So throughout my career, I've had the opportunity to teach at the University of Waterloo, which I'm very thankful for. I've also had the opportunity to design and create a whole bunch of different programs at the firms that I've worked at, being part of the national L&D team and now leading our national L&D team for US tax, creating different programs that give technical content or business skills. And that's something that I've been really passionate about and very grateful for, that I've had the opportunity to be a teacher almost every day of my career too. And that kind of ties into mentoring, being able to see someone that you've hired as a co-op student or hired as a staff whether it be go and thrive somewhere in industry or end up becoming a partner with me, sitting next to me as my partner has just been so rewarding. I remember hiring one co-op student from Waterloo's MTax program just about a decade ago, or a little bit more than a decade ago. And he had so much promise and potential, and just watching him flourish in his career. And he did even work in industry and came back for a little bit. And now I get to call him my partner, and I see him just thriving as a partner here at the firm as well is exciting. Or seeing one of my senior managers who works on transactions with me as a first year manager, diving into some of the rules, getting up on calls at 6 in the morning to talk with people in Europe, now sitting at a boardroom table in Dublin and presenting a transaction structure with confidence and this gleam in his eyes. Like, it's just something that's so rewarding to me to see people come out of school and have a role in what their career will be, or having people say they chose a career in US tax because of the impact I've had on them and the experiences that they've had. That's been something that's been very, very rewarding. And I'd say last is flexibility. Public accounting does give you ultimate flexibility. And the most important thing in my life, other than being constantly challenged, are my family. So my husband, Patrick, and my three boys, Andrew, Oliver, and Noah, who are quite young and keep me very busy. So I've always said, and other people say this as well, that you sort of plan your work around your life, not your life around your work. And public accounting has really let me do that. I can schedule my day the way I need to schedule my day. So prior to COVID, I attended every single Christmas concert at my children's school, the Mother's Day tea at the daycare. I went on every school trip that my kids had because that was important to me to be there and just block that day off. Now that we were living in the pandemic and post, I take my kids to school every morning and I start my day after I've dropped them off. I take a break from 3 to 4 o'clock every day to pick them up, hear about their day, unpack their lunches before I log back on for a little bit before dinner. Or sometimes I plan a day to take them out of school and do something, or I plan my personal life around my work as well, whether I need to sneak out in the middle of the day for a massage or a pedicure once the spa finally opens. So public accounting has given me ultimate flexibility that I can work anytime from anywhere. And I think that's also been very, very important, being a mother of three small children, being able to prioritize them and fit my work around them because they are my priority. And I think that flexibility has been one of the main reasons, too, that I've chosen to stay in public accounting. So that's a little bit about me. And I guess I should also give a shout out to my husband, who I mentioned at the beginning as my accountant husband I've been married to for 15 years. Without his support and being able to, like, him being my partner and my biggest supporter, I probably wouldn't be able to do what I do today, because sometimes there is a lot of globe trotting and I can't be there for the school pickup or drop off or whatever it may be. So having a really good support system and help has really helped me also take advantage of all of the opportunities that have been given to me. And my advice for any of you would be, first, don't be so eager to leave public accounting before you've really experienced everything it has to offer. It's not for everybody, but it can be a very challenging and rewarding career. And second would be, again, and I think other people have already said this as well, don't say no to opportunities when they present themselves. Sometimes you're not ready to say yes, but saying yes will lead to a whole new learning experience. I never thought that I'd end up running that big deal and be named as the best tax minded deal planning. But I said, yes, I'm going to rise to that challenge. And it ended up opening a whole bunch of other doors for me. I said yes to running a bunch of different training programs. It opened the door for a lot more travel for me. So if you say yes, rise to that challenge, take advantage of it, because you're never going to have all the answers. I never have all the answers. And that's part of what keeps life interesting, the challenge and the variety. So that's my story. And I'm happy to answer
Thanks.
any questions.
Thanks, Julia, for sharing that. Sounds like you can have an international experience despite being one office. Don't have to travel to Hong Kong, and we could experience it that way.